good. Oh, good. Okay, let's see when people start coming on. I'm backwards. Good morning. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, yay! I'm so excited.
Yeah. I think there's more people jumping on. Let me make sure.
Oh, wait. Hey, I'm retired. I'm not in any hurry. I'm here for you guys, and that makes me excited.
I know, we're so excited.
I think we're at the precipice of creating a new curriculum for schools. So
Yeah.
your input's going to be amazing. And I think if everybody sees the power that they're holding right now in their hands, they'll feel differently about the virtual experience and, kind of relax in it. Yeah, I see Layla's coming on. Oh, good. I'll finally get to know who you're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to see her.
Yeah, I did her.
She has to turn on her camera and her microphone. So
I know Mimi wanted to jump on. She was having phone issues.
Well, and it is recording. I hope that's okay for my benefit, so I can go back and review, and that anybody of your friends.
Yeah.
Hi.
Hi. How are you? You have to forgive me.
I know who you are.
Yes. How are you doing?
I'm great. How are you today?
We're good. We're good. I'm good. Yeah. Thank you. Thanks so much for taking this time to talk with us. We so appreciate it.
Well, it's a wonderful opportunity for me because this is where my passion lies. And when Mimi's coming on, so when everybody gets on, I'll share my belief system about this amazing time for all of the kids and the parents. And me as an educator, I'm teaching teachers.
Yeah.
They don't realize that they're going to have to shift things.
Yeah.
Changes in curriculum. It's going to be a huge paradigm shift. I predict it. Okay, Mimi, hi, happy New Year.
And just give me 1 minute. I just have to get this situation where I'm sitting organized.
We're not started yet. We'll wait because I think are there more people wanting to come on?
Yes, I believe there's 2 more coming on. One I know is going to be driving, so I think that'll just take her a minute.
Yeah, okay, like I said, hey, nothing's throwing me these days.
Right.
With some nice people, I couldn't be happy.
Perfect.
I'd love to do it in a room where we sit and talk. I'll have to suffice for now.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Okay.
I'm getting my coffee ready so I can sit and enjoy this powwow. I'm really excited.
You do whatever you have to, and when we give people a chance, to pop
No,
on.
I'm gonna go sit in a different spot. Hold on.
Okay. Get comfortable, and when you're all ready, then we can have a wonderful morning together. If you only knew how wonderful this is for me. Guys can't imagine. It's almost like a dream come true type of thing. So it is an actualization of a former visualization. Any of you understand that?
Oh, I felt after our session on Monday, I just I don't understand. I'm so grateful.
After we chatted? Am I loud? Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yes, after we chatted, I just feel so much more at ease. and I don't know, I feel like, you know, I feel like I can totally navigate this year with you by my side, and so I'm so grateful for that. Thank you.
Well, as a result of this, I have some people in Georgia that want to do the same thing. So I thought, well, I'll do it with them, and at one point we'll get all together. And
Yeah.
we're experiencing things that. So what was it that I said to you that made you feel relaxed? What were the words that resonated with you? I need to know.
It was, well, I think it was all of it. It was the time you had spent with him, and the fact that like this is the program that you created, and just thinking like how lucky that we are that we're in this position that we get to have you to no, but really I just felt like, and also I love that he had a great time and that he couldn't believe how much time you had spent together, and he felt more confident. And I mean, we had something that happened this morning that we can discuss once everybody is on, because I think it would be beneficial for everyone. But like, I don't know, I felt like this week he was just like, I wasn't worried. Whereas I felt like the last few weeks, I didn't know what was going on. I didn't know how I can be supportive of him, or where I need to step away. And so I don't know, I felt like you taught him that system. So I felt like I was more at ease, so I can kind of just sit back and let him learn as he needs to, so.
Well, why don't I share with the group? We've got Mimi, we've got you, we've got Layla, we've got Anna.
Hi, how are you?
So
Hi. I know, I missed you.
Eli. Hey, I still have your baseball cards. I gotta get to you.
My opinion on this if Austin knew you were on the phone, he'd freak out right now.
Okay. So let's not. Eli. Well, I'll talk with you later. How's that, buddy?
Okay.
Are you supposed to be in class?
No, not for another 8 minutes.
Okay. Good. Well,
Bye.
Bye. And we have Charlene, who I can't see right now. And I really am not a name rememberer. I'm a visual person, so I remember faces. So I'm not sure who Charlene is. Have I had any of her children? Probably not.
No, so Charlene, yeah. So Kai is her oldest.
Sorry.
Oh, I know. Oh, hi.
Hi.
How are you?
Hi. I'm doing the dishes and I'm listening at the same time.
Well, that's okay. You don't have to hop on if you're comfortable doing the dishes. That's fine. I'm glad you're here with us because you can provide some insight. One of the reasons I was so excited to be able to do this for you guys was several people, and I've heard this over several times, is that they're feeling that the online environment is going to make their children get behind. And I wanted to reassure everyone. I've been hearing this, be behind, get ahead. There's no such thing. In all my teaching career, you cannot get a child ahead. There's no way. You can pound them with math, you can do all this, but you're really not going to get them ahead. They are where they need to be at that exact point in their lives, okay? So we have to dismiss this feeling of get ahead or get behind, but in actuality, this pandemic had to happen for all of us. Number one, it had to happen because we had become insanely focused on getting ahead, or rushing to nowhere. We were thinking that we were going to be somewhere in the end, and it wasn't getting us any further, but creating tremendous stress and anxiety in parents as well as children. But you made a choice or even if the children are on, there's some schools where they're on in the morning and in class in the afternoon and vice versa, like my school across the street. There are some school districts that you're all virtual or you're all in the classroom. Well, I'm here to tell you that your option to choose online learning has actually been a better choice, because if we think about the rate at which technology is advancing exponentially every day, there are changes that are happening right now that we'll see in a month that we didn't even know existed now. How can we prepare children for a future that is going to look so different than what used to be predictable before technology? Because I've lived through all of it, you guys. I was there in the 50s, which I had a carefree life. I didn't know what was going on in the news. There was an hour of news each night that I was allowed to see because it was at 5 o'clock. It was short. It was the facts, ma'am. It wasn't what these kids have exposed to them today. So because this is happening, we do have this great opportunity in this learning environment to teach them the skills that they're going to need, because most likely, and I saw this vision, I know that there are husbands here that are in the work on in construction and architecture and that kind of thing. I predict that we will see the new construction for homes as having casitas that are actually home offices, unattached to the existing building, or detached in a way that doesn't make it easy to get in and out, so that it can replicate what would happen if someone went to an office. So what does that mean? That means that the skills they have to learn are different, that they don't need to learn all. I mean, you think it's important for them to learn history so you don't repeat it. And when we try to wipe out history, then we're doomed to repeat it. So those are important things, but there needs to be a focus on different skills. Personal time management, like I spent an hour with Eli going over he had no idea that between 6 and 8:30, he did so many things. It was just precious when he says, when we were done, he said, well, it doesn't look like I have much of cuddle time, So it helped him get a grasp on what time feels like, how to manage himself, how to get to an appointment on time, how to get to a Zoom on time, how to consider. When I was meeting with Nabil, he looked at his time, because you had done such a good job with him and helping him make a mistake and see the negative results. That was brilliant. That's what we have to train parents to do. Let them fail. Don't try to tell them too much. They don't want to hear from you. They want to learn from their own mistakes. Hopefully they'll come to you and ask for suggestions. That's when you offer them. But in the meantime, you can offer coaching, which we will learn how to do right here. So that well, this is what would be a good thing to say to them in this case. And they will be prepared because they'll know how to manage their time. They'll know how to navigate the internet effectively so that they're competent and self-reliant. They don't need you. In fact, anyone who watched my class during COVID would tell you who was teaching who. The kids were teaching me because I was failing so badly at the internet that I had to rely on them. And lucky for me, I had a couple of kids that were really adept at it, and they knew and they could teach me. So my role in this online learning was to teach them what it looks like to fail and not give up and not lose your cookies over it and try something different. And that's what happens when you make mistakes. But if you don't have permission to make mistakes and everything is a big to-do because you didn't get it turned in on time or whatever, that's going to impede the growth. Just like over tutoring for math will impede growth. So if we have this mindset that we're at an opportunistic period right here, you guys are the trailblazers. You're going to help me educate other people so that when children they're going to get the skills that they need, that when we go back into the classroom, I can go into classrooms and train teachers how to implement these strategies that these children are going to need if they're in a home office. Does that make sense? Yeah. So the skills I see them needing are personal time management skills. And that is hard. If you're a creative and you are envisioning the future, time is a disturbance. It's a man-made condition. And I suffer from it. I mean, I understand the pain, and I believe that I was brought into this earth as a bad student, as a visionary, and as a horrible time manager and a horrible paper manager, because I had to learn what it felt like. I had to see what I could teach children to do to avoid that pain. I had to help them be okay with learning who they are as an individual and embracing it. And our children need that opportunity over learning about the rainforest, to be honest with you. So I would have dumped all that, which I did. In my classroom, I dumped that and I spent time on time management. I said, this is my great opportunity. I've taught them how to manage 45 minutes after school. Now I'm going to teach them how to manage their whole day. Do you know how exciting that was for me when everybody was crying and screaming about internet? I was thinking, oh my God, I just taught them the best skill ever. They'll take it with them to college. They'll take it them in their offices. Because when they go off to college, you're not going to be there. I hate to tell you. And if they don't choose to go to college, that may not be their life path. So we just have to teach them the skills they're going to need now, how to problem solve. Mr. Seifer, sorry he left, but he used math to teach problem solving. He didn't use math just for addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division to learn processes. He taught them life lessons through math. So we need to get back to that. Mrs. Wilder teaches how to observe behaviors and how to process them when they're not yours and how to deal with them in her literature series. We need more of that. We need to be able to look at the different energy styles that people have and the way they respond to stress. Because when we understand how our partner or my student responds to stress, that it's not a reflection on me, they won't get so upset with other children. They'll be in a different place. So these are the understandings they need. But when I'm asking, okay, I could go on forever. Just go like this when I've overwhelmed you because I'm kind of channeling this information for you. So what I
love
like,
it. This is like really awesome information and just an awesome perspective. I think,
okay.
Because we've all had these conversations, I think we're all in the same mind space.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Do you get the goosies? Did you just get the goosies that I got?
TED Talk.
I love it.
It's a TED Talk.
Oh, is it?
I think you're writing a TED Talk.
Okay. All right. Well, then I need to do that, right?
Yeah.
I've been told I need to do that. That's my next on my list. Now that I'm retired, I have time to do this stuff, you guys. I'm so excited. I feel 20 years younger than I did the day I retired. Can you believe that? Coming into your homes when I did, coming into the homes I went into this last couple of weeks, I worked with Remy Carl's kids as they navigated online learning. And I realized that they needed sometimes to know how to advocate for themselves in the classroom. Because JMO, some of you may know him. I don't know, was he in your kids' classes? Jameson?
No.
No, Jameson's younger. Addie is in the same class.
Oh, okay.
Same grade.
Yes, that's right. I was watching both of them. And JMO, the younger one, needed to be able to tell the teacher. She called on him after he raised his hand and she called on him. And he gave an answer. And then she asked him another question. And he didn't understand how the brain works, that when someone puts you on a spot.
Mrs. O,
Uh-huh.
I gotta say that's something I really miss that I know you did with the class for Austin. And I think that's so important for the children to learn, like how their brain works and Austin learning about, video games and how that, it alters him and how it, makes his emotional state, because they're learning about all that stuff. But that was so helpful. And I really missed that for Aria.
Well,
So,
I can give it to them.
I love that.
I can have a meeting with the kids about the brain.
And Austin could use a refresher.
Oh, sure. They all can because understanding how your brain works. So what I said to JMO, I said he couldn't come up with an answer, and that teacher waited. Oh my God, the 30 seconds felt like 20 minutes. And when the break was over, I said to JMO, I said, tell me how you felt when she asked you the next question. And he goes, and as soon as he got off of that call, he goes, oh, I should have said How to Train Your Dragon. but he couldn't at that moment because his stress response stopped all the access to any memory. And I experience that on a daily basis with dealing with my siblings. When they come in for the attack, I can't think straight. It takes me a day or two before I can figure out how to answer the question because, and it's always a logical answer, but at that moment in time, so I said to him, your stress response set off this reaction. You couldn't have thought of your name at that moment. But what you have to do is take a deep breath and just relax and ask her, you know, I need a minute to think about it. Can you come back to me? He relaxed in his understanding that he had a response that he could give. And that's good in any conversation. I'm now learning it, saying to my siblings, look, you want to know what that money was spent on? Give me a minute. I'll go and research it for you. I can't give you an instantaneous answer. And sure enough, it's, you know, there's nothing shady or anything, but you have to learn how to say those things in everyday life. And so he was empowered to do that. And he did it again when I wasn't around. So there were two incidences with him where one was he had to learn to advocate for himself and ask for more time to think, just needed think time. And the second one was that he needed, he heard directions. And the teacher was doing one of these activities where she played a video and it showed him how to draw something. And she then, and in it, it said, well, you can do the hair in this drawing any way you want. So he took that literally and he did it with spikes. And then after the video was done, she said, I'd like you to do your hair to look like your hair. Well, he erased it and the paper got crumbled because he thought he'd made a big mistake. And I said, JMO, I heard the directions. You got two different directions. Well, maybe she meant that I shouldn't do what followed there. I said, no, JMO, you heard two different directions. What you need to do in the future, if something like this happens, is you need to say to the teacher, I heard the video say, do whatever hair you want. And then you said, and I did that. And then you said you wanted our hair. Do you want me to redo it with my hair? Or is it okay that I did it with spikes? So automatically that empowered him. And those are the kind of things we want to teach children. Hi, Austin, how are you doing, buddy?
Good. I
Nice.
miss you.
I miss you too, sweetie. I miss giving you hugs. And boy, do you look so old now. You're almost as tall as, you're getting up to his height. Nice.
Yeah,
job.
he's getting tall.
Okay.
All
All
right. I
right.
told Mrs. Joe maybe we can see her later another day, okay?
Great. I'd love to.
So
Okay.
what you're experiencing is going to be really important. What you see and how you respond to it. And if you don't respond correctly right at first, no worries. Call me. You'll all have my phone number. Call me and say, this just happened. What do you think I should do? And as you ask me these questions, then I am going to be able to say, okay, I'm going to write that down. And this is the response I would give, which I can put in my training manual. So you are helping me. Okay, go ahead with your question.
So it actually worked out perfectly because we had an incident that occurred this morning and I did not respond because I knew we had our call. So all I said was, we will talk about this later. And now I get to ask you what to do. But yeah, so this morning I had to print something and the printer's in Nabil's room. I had to print something for Tala. So I ran into his room to get something from the printer and he like panicked a little. And I wasn't coming to ask him anything. I was just getting the paper and leaving. And he said, oh, I have to, I'm just studying for the spelling test. Like I'm rewriting the words and then as soon as I'm done, I'm gonna log on to math. And I said, well, was this homework? And he said, yeah. And I said, when was it due? And he said, this morning. And I told them, nope, sorry, like done. Like you cannot turn this in. It's over. Don't even like try to turn it in. And I said, also, we don't, I said, you can never log on to class late because you're doing other work. If you have math right now, you need to log on to math. And I basically said, this is not okay. You can't do it. We'll talk about it later. And I walked out. But now I don't know what to do. Also, I think my concern is, I feel like the repercussions they have in class. So for example, like obviously he won't get Hall of Fame, right? My concern is is that it's not going to carry the weight it normally would as if he were in class. So how does he feel? How does he get that accountability? Or, you know, and I think the system works when you're in class and your name isn't called and you kind of feel like a sense of embarrassment and like you don't want to have that feeling again. So the next week you do better. But I'm worried that that feeling is lost because he's not on campus and because his teacher's not looking right at him so how do we do this? Like how?
Well, I think this one's going to take some thought on my part because you're right. You cannot do Hall of Fame the same way you would for a virtual student as you do, especially if there aren't hard due dates. So if they're in a virtual world, what I would recommend to teachers is that you must give hard deadlines, because if you're in a job and the boss says, I want this project done by 5 o'clock in the afternoon, it has to be done by 5 o'clock in the afternoon. So because you can ask the teacher, have him, express what you're experiencing at home and that you really would like them to institute a hard deadline. Since all of your kids are in different classrooms, what are the hard deadlines for Barlow's class? Are there any?
Yeah, so Barlow's, her expectations are pretty clear. So she sends them a picture of the board in the morning with sort of her, like the agenda for the day and, what to do with your free time. And at the end of the day, she sends the picture of the board again that has the homework written, in addition to telling them the assignments during the day. And then on Google Classroom, they all have due dates. So like due by the 12 p.m. if it's the end of math, or or 3 p.m. or
well, it's not like any time after school, like 10 o'clock would be
no, but it's a little bit different in fourth grade. So what I've noticed in terms of grading is that he can turn something in late and then he just he'll get points deducted from that.
So there's a consequence.
You're right, there's a consequence.
Well, that's great because the consequence speaks for itself. Hey, if you're in a real life job, and you can express this to the children, if you're in a real life job and you don't meet a hard deadline, your penalty is bye-bye. There's the door. So the penalty, and it wouldn't hurt to explain to them that what they're learning right now is just not school. They're learning a skill right now that they're going to need when they're a businessman or when they're an actor and they need to manage themselves, or when they're a famous athlete, because I know a lot of these boys think they're going to be basketball players or whatever. They have to know how to meet their deadlines. So you can say to them as a parent, fully say to them, there is no reason why you should be having a late assignment. There will be extenuating circumstances here and there, but as a parent, if I get a report from the teacher that you've had so many late assignments, you're going to be taken to task on that because you're not learning the skill you need to learn for your future. Mm-hmm. And I think that was one thing that Nabil really resonated with, that understanding that this was the reason to practice his spelling words wasn't just a busy activity. It was because he was building dendrites. And the reason you're practicing meeting a hard deadline is because someday you're going to have a job where you need to do that. Mm-hmm. The reason why we did the banking that I started at Pegasus was they would have a reason why they needed to add and subtract efficiently. I could tell them to practice their facts, but if they saw that they bounced a check and it cost them $50, now they have a different reason for adding and subtracting efficiently. So this, if we can tap into it and say, you are learning, unlike the kids in the classroom, and you can't go nanny to them, but you have an opportunity now because you're learning a skill that will make you a better boss, a better employee, more efficient in your life, and give you more free time to play, because you're going to budget that. But you've got to learn how to do this now. You need to take this more seriously. You're in training. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't give you the keys to the car unless you had been gone through the adequate amount of training. And if you, in a car, you have certain things you have to do and you don't do them all the time and you're penalized a little bit, I'm not going to want to put you in a driver's seat. Now that might not appeal to them right now, but it will to a teenager. So these are the kind of things that I can say that instead of harping on them, say, it is to me as a parent, I don't care what the teacher says. It's unacceptable for you not to be honoring a deadline. And if a teacher doesn't give you one, you need to learn how to give yourself one. And that's your role as a parent. And say, let's look at your schedule together. Because maybe they aren't adept. Eli, he's so easygoing. Nope. I mean, he did get upset with missing Hall of Fame, but most things don't bother him, which is a nice attribute. I mean, seriously, he's not over perfectionist. He's just,
No.
I wish I was more like him, but but he still needs to learn that this is not a strength for him. And therefore, this is a great opportunity to learn it. And the kids that missed Hall of Fame the most benefited the most, because the kids who already knew this instinctively didn't need it. But the kids who needed the most needed to be constantly reminded that the pattern worked for them when they didn't. So practicing it perfect. And this would be something that would be that I need to come and talk to Nabil about things that have happened this last week and kind of focus on, okay, how are you using your time? Now you can be honest with me. I already know that he feels comfortable with me and that he can be honest with me. So I'm very happy to come back and work through those things with him or any of the kids.
Please. So like,
Well,
so I know that, this homework was, there's a reason for this homework. It's to help them prepare for the spelling test today. So the fact that he didn't do it and I said, sorry, it's too late, you can't turn it in. Do I still say to him now, like, you can't turn it in, but you should do it just so he can prepare for the test, or how should I do it?
Good question, because my gut reaction, first of all, one thing I always asked of my parents, and Anna can attest to that, and me too, that I asked you to let me know what was going on at home when they were doing it. So I really do believe that because these teachers have never dealt with this environment before, and when I would do parenting classes all over the United States, I would say you can't change the teacher, but you can inform the teacher of what you're observing and ask if there's anything that, I wanted to give you a heads up that this is what I'm observing at home. And if you can facilitate anything to help them learn how to manage better, it would be good, because I want to stay out. But it is an observation I've made. And I think that Nabil has Fancher, right? Okay.
Yeah.
I would definitely, use that model saying, okay, I don't want to be involved. And and the parents in my third grade classes for years and in my classes for 47 years, well, in the beginning, they didn't even want to be involved. If I called a parent and said your child misbehaved, I was careful, because some of them would get beaten if they were disrespectful to a teacher. So it would build up on me. I could call your mother, but I think you were willing to change your behavior, right? And that's shifted, because now I call a parent and tell them your child's misbehaving and they want to figure out what I did to cause it. So we want to know what's going on. We don't want to step in. We want to know what's going on, them to know what's going on, so they can know what they have to do from a teacher of a virtual perspective, because it's so different than but in the meantime, we can have dialogues. I can have them with the kids. I can have a group dialogue, and you guys can feed me all the stuff you are seeing, and I can talk to them about it. I'd love to do that. And I can say, hey, I can be their coach. I'm going to teach them strategies on how to get successful in this, where it can pull you in. Try to replicate it a little, because it might be something I need to do on a national level anyway, with so many kids and nobody knowing what to do. I mean, I think your gut instinct is not a bad one, and being firm about it, but I think you got to really think about this. And I do want to think about it a little bit more and get a little more guidance on how to answer that more effectively.
Right, because I don't know if I should be the one that is giving him the consequences. So like, you know, if he's not going to get Hall of Fame, like I'm worried that he's going to be like, well, okay, I don't care. So if he's not going to have any consequences for his actions, then he's not going to care, you know? And so like, am I the one that's going to say, well, you didn't do this, so like now you can't go to the beach, or you're going to have to miss hockey, you're going to, you know, like how do I?
Well, I think as a parent, you have the right to say that I have certain expectations. And as a parent, I would not accept this if you were in a regular classroom. I mean, come on, we need to set firm boundaries for them as a parent. You can offer them an opportunity to figure out if they learn this pattern successfully, and because what we want to do, our objective, we don't want to constantly give, you know, rewards, but our objective on a daily basis is to make sure that they're doing that pattern correctly, not building in their own little thing, but that they're managing their time. So they can be held accountable at the end of the day. And you can say, I need you to show me how you managed your time. That's it. Show me how you use your time. And here's your daily schedule. What did you do when? I would say that if they're accountable the night before for the next day by doing a daily schedule, like I did with him. The one thing about Nabil that he kind of internalized that calendar very quickly. But it isn't making him, if he's not filling it out every day for at least 21 days, he's really not learning how to be accountable for what he puts in there. Because unless he writes it, he's not going to remember it. And unless he feels in that space with an activity that he has to do. And I used to have my kids plan their afternoon before they left for home. Like, what are you going to do here? You see, you have this practice, that's unavailable. This is the time you have available. How are you going to use it? I never told them what to do, but I did tell them that it's unacceptable that they're up past 8:30 doing homework. Because if I hear that, they're missing Hall of Fame. And I've asked the parents to let me know. So that's not acceptable. And I told him when I was there, you need to be in bed by 8:30, buddy. You've got a bad habit of going to bed late because of the summer. He even admitted it. He said, Eli is up really early and I want to sleep until 9. It was really cute. But I said, yeah, but that's not to your advantage right now. So you need to look at your time, but having them, because they used to plan the afternoon before they left class, they already knew what was in mind. And actually, to be honest with you, my kids would look at the afternoon in the morning before we started and know what they had for the day for homework. And then they knew, well, gosh, I have soccer practice after this. Will I have time to do all this? And if I don't, then maybe I need to start it at lunch. And I would have kids say, could you go over the spelling first thing in the morning instead of later so that I can know what I have to do and then I can get it started at lunch. And then because I know what my afternoon looks like. And I trained them to ask parents what they had for them that day before they left the car, because I wanted them to know. So you could start tonight. I mean, Sunday night. Today is Friday. Yeah. Did you want to ask a question? I see you want to ask a question.
Just in regard to not doing work late at night, but what about doing work early in the morning? So Eli does wake up early and often completes assignments that were assigned the day before in the morning before school. But, you know, he wakes up at like 6:20.
Right. But that's not always a safe thing to do.
Right.
Unfortunately, it would be nice if the teachers, because in the classroom, the little homework was due the next day. That's different. But the classwork was due before they left class.
Well, so he gets both assignments. So some assignments have hard due dates that he has to Google scan and turn in. So like, let's say he's in math and then they're put in a breakout room and they have an in-class assignment and they have to finish it and scan it in and turn it in. So that has a hard due date. But if he has like a workbook page that they're going to correct together in class, or they have to do their brainstorm for a writing prompt or something like that, that's not due until like they're going to go over it in class together. Mm-hmm. And I've just noticed over the last couple of weeks, some of those assignments, he's been doing in the morning?
Okay, so I love that question because we are all different people.
Right.
When I was in high school, I did better at night. Now that I'm 70, almost 71, I love getting up at 4 o'clock in the morning. I'm taking courses right now, and it's exciting to get up early and do the work. And I find I'm fresher and I absorb more. That's different.
Right.
So what every person needs to do is to say, I need to build a schedule that works with my personality style.
Mm-hmm.
Difficulty with waiting till the morning, which you might find, is that sometimes activities take you longer than you anticipated. And if you start them in the afternoon, you kind of get an idea of how much time it's going to take. And if you don't know that, you're going to fail a few times in the morning and see, well, I probably should have done half of this last night, and then the rest
Mhm. And the rest of the morning.
But it takes a trial and error thing. So
Yeah.
if he knows that he's going to get up at 6 o'clock and he's not going to be able to brush his sister's hair or give her the attention,
Right.
he won't have any cuddle time, and he's okay with that. It's not going to interfere with him getting it done. It's not going to interfere with him getting it done. I don't know. Am I on your screen?
Mrs. O,
Yeah.
someone wants to show you something real quick because he heard you say the word schedule. And he said out loud, what was it you just said?
I have other schedules.
He likes schedules now, Mrs. O.
Well, it took him a little
And
while.
look at what he
Oh my
created
gosh,
before
look
school
at that.
started.
Is
He
that
made it
your
himself.
own personal schedule that you created?
That's his morning routine and his after school routine.
Does it make you feel better, Austin?
It makes me feel a lot better, honestly. It's like, cause I'm not like, okay, wait, what am I doing next again? So I'm not A, just relying on my memory to do it. B, I have something outlined in it's just outlined. So it's like, so you have more free time basically. So you know what to do and you know the length to do it. So you don't like do one thing for like too long or one thing for too short.
It makes you accountable, right?
It makes you accountable, yeah.
And more efficient as well, right?
Yeah.
Giving you more free time. I love that. And this I'm keeping in my video that other people can watch. Do you mind if I do that? Make it available for my other
No, for sure.
Um,
He has it color coded.
yeah,
White school.
I'd like a copy of that, Anna. Okay.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. I'll send it.
I'll email it to you.
Aria has her own.
Yeah,
have her own
figure
too.
it out any way they want.
I got them to make it themselves. So first Austin made one because he's older and he knows how to use that technology. And then after that, he sat down with Aria and made hers with her. And then we then sat down as a group and said, all right, let's think about this. Does this look a little too unrealistic? Like you're a kid, like.
Yeah, that's perfect.
So,
That's exactly what you want to do. Okay,
Yeah.
but I'm going to add one thing. And this
it
is,
also took us a long time, I have to say, for all the moms, just so you know, Miss O knows, and Austin doesn't mind me saying this, 3rd grade was not the greatest growth year for him.
he made,
But he got there.
it
He
was
got there.
because he was learning from his mistakes.
Right.
And
So he
we're-
got
I
there.
was there. I was learning from my mistakes, but I didn't decide to do anything about it until 4th grade, which is not the right thing because I could have been I could have been in a better place by now.
Now, Austin, wait a minute. Wait. Let's talk about this. You were right where you were supposed to be in 3rd grade to be able to make that transition to 4th grade. So do not beat yourself up for it.
I know.
Austin, you remember what 3rd grade was like.
I
And
do.
now you know what this is like. You're going to keep the schedule because do you want to go back to the other way? But I do want to make one point that kids need to understand, and I said this to Nabil. When you practice your spelling words, you're writing them with your hand, you're probably saying the letters in your mind, and then you are hearing them in your head. So you're hearing them, you're seeing them, and you're writing them, okay?
Yeah.
But,
I remember.
but when you type them, your brain has no reason. This is what you remember about the typing. And I don't even know where the lit keys are on the computer, to be honest with you. But I can type fast. But that's because I practice typing. But am I going to take a spelling test typing? No. I'm going to
Oh.
take a spelling test. Hang on 1 minute, Austin, okay? So the minute we dedicate something to a computer program, we are missing a couple of steps in memory. the written part, which cements it in our brain to say, oh my gosh, she's writing this down. It's important to remember. And if they haven't seen the movie Inside Out, they need to watch it because it explains what happens in the brain at night. When the brain gets a message that it's not important, it turns the memory into a gray ball and throws it in the trash. And it's pretty much like the brain goes through, the cells go in and do sweeping every night to make more room for new neural paths. So the writing, when you commit a phone number to written and you don't, how many of you could remember each other's phone number if your phone went dead?
I could.
I can remember my mother's phone number from 1963, OR 88685.
Oh, wow.
4 prefixes. Why? Because I dialed that number so many times in a threatened situation because my sister was beating up on me. So I actually had a commitment to doing I can do it, OR 88685. And I know where it is on that rotary dial. So I had to make a transition to the punch. That was really bad. And now I couldn't tell you anybody's phone number.
Ms. O,
Yeah.
I have a very good story you could use in Austin.
Mhm.
Like literally it just happened last
Just
week.
happened.
So Austin wasn't doing so great on tests, which is, you know,
Right.
not really common for Austin.
Right.
And he was doing geography, which is pure memorization, which you know as well. Austin, that's like easy peasy lemon squeezy. I'm like, what's going on? And he's doing his work and whatever. Well, he wasn't writing it out. He was depending on all these online games to remember, whatever. And I said,
Depending on all of
Austin,
these
I
websites,
really think you need to write things down again and everything else. So then he went into it and literally drew out a map by hand, made his whole system. And now yesterday he took his geography test again and he aced it because he used paper and pencil and it just ingrained. And so he was like, oh, that was it. Like I was missing that piece.
Keep in mind, but before that test, it was like a C that I had gotten. C plus.
Okay, so I
It's not bad.
would love to interview him separately because
Yes.
I've
Okay.
heard different problems. So
I can do it
Later,
after
because I'm-
school.
Right.
today.
sweetheart,
After-
I'm gonna stop you for a minute
Okay.
because I really want to address the parents.
Right.
That you've given some good examples. I love them, but I want to talk to you personally and I want to videotape you independently.
Sure.
And I'm gonna do them.
Just when? Because I know I have some things on my.
She'll probably plan it
Oh,
with me
I see.
later.
No, I'm not gonna do that. I'm gonna plan it, sweetheart.
Okay.
Okay, you can go now.
What I wanted to emphasize for that, ladies, is that when you sit down with them with their calendar, they can transfer it to a computer program. And I think am I spotlit here? There I am. Okay. So when you sit down with them, you do it with a pen, preferably a pencil. And I'll tell you why. Because when you work with a pen, it glides over the paper. It doesn't give the brain the same feedback. But when you use a pencil, they have to press harder to get an image. And use a pencil that requires, them to put pressure because that pressure is creating more of a memory. Does that make sense? Yeah? Okay. So, Sunday night, I would recommend that you sit down with your kids and if you need the sample of a timeline, you may have to add to it or whatever. My daughter made this beautiful chart for my grandson, like this big, and he would write on it in vis-a-vis so that he could record it and then use it the next, she had a couple of them and use it the next day. So you can come up with your own system, but I think that physical writing, that they sit down with you and they decide when they're going to do things. Now you put in there your hard deadlines, like going to practice, when you're going to have dinner, family things that they can't decide on, their hard bedtime. That's your decision. And they have to know in the beginning that you're not going to bend on that if they have not used good time management. Okay. And then what's really helpful is to have them take a highlighter and highlight all those non-negotiables. I did a video on this, and I could share it with you, so that a YouTube video of what I was going to have kids do if I was teaching it. So, but this is what you can do: is you take the highlighter and you highlight all unavailable times, so there's no white paper left where it's unavailable. That's not time that you can do fun things or anything. And then, so you would put Zoom on there, breakfast, bath, when are they going? Because he says he likes a shower at night. Nabil did. So they know how much time they need for that. How wonderful to know I need at least a half an hour shower because I love it beating down on my back, and schedule it in so they don't get just a 5-minute shower. And those kind of things are helpful for life in general and in their futures. So sit down with them on Sunday, do the scheduling, be firm about what your expectations are, no matter what the teacher says. And you're setting the clear parameters for them. And then they are to apply that the next day. They get the choice of where they do their homework within that, your parameters. Does that make sense? Does that sound like something you feel comfortable with?
Absolutely. So if, when I email the teacher and I give her my observations, and if she doesn't come back instituting her own hard deadlines, I will put
Yes,
those
absolutely.
together. Okay.
Absolutely. And you can say to him, look, I'm going to do this for your benefit. I'm going to do this because you need to learn how to create these hard deadlines for yourself. Because later on, I'm training you for college or for in-home working. And this is what you're going to have to do. I am a retired person. I have got to put in some very hard deadlines because it's so easy for me to look at the day and say, where did it go? So I do my daily schedule every night before I go to bed, knowing exactly where I'm going to go. And boy, I get so much done. And now I need to write this book. So I'm energized to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning because I know where I'm going. And that's where goal setting is so important. So I did a video on how to teach them how to do goal setting, and I can share it with you guys. But that's something that's really important to do with them. And this could be done over the weekend as well. And I think this is even more important before you do scheduling, because they're going to have the end in sight. I said, start the new year with the end in sight. And I don't know how many of you do active visualization about the future, but it's a skill we need to teach our children. So what I used to do in the classroom is have them close their eyes. And this was done the first week of school before they started scheduling, and say, I want you to close your eyes and I want you to pretend that school year is over, because believe me, before you know it, we're going to be saying goodbye. And they all say, Miss O, you told us the first week of school is going to go so fast. And it was true. So I say to them, okay, let's go to February. Let's not go to the end of the school year. Let's go to February. And in February, you're going to get a report card. So I want you to close your eyes. Can you see yourself at your home? Raise your hand when you can see yourself at your home. And can you see yourself meeting with your mom and dad and opening up a letter or it used to, the report cards used to come in the mail. Now they come via email. But mom's printed out or dad's printed it out, and you get to look at the comments that are there. What comments do you want this teacher to put on your report card? Oh, he was so kind. He was thoughtful. He had good time management skills, even though it was really hard for him. He worked through problems to find strategies that helped him. He turned his work in on time. All the things you want them to see on the report card at the end. And I said, okay, now I want you to kind of embrace that report card and know that you worked every day to get that report card. I want you to close your eyes. I want you to see that report card, all these wonderful things. And I would feed them a list of things they could write or that they could see, all the things that I wanted them to do. Okay. I just suggested them. You could visualize, turns their homework in every day on time. You could visualize that says that even though there was trouble with a homework assignment, he or she was willing to ask questions about it. And then now you see this beautiful report card. You're so proud of it because you know that you worked hard to get that. How does that feel? And right now, I don't know about you, but I've got goosies going on because I know how beautiful that report card is. Now, let's go back to today. What do we have to do today to get that report card that feels so good? And that report card feels good because you know it was the best one you've ever had. It's got a whole list of wonderful things that you did. And you may never have done those things in the past. So your parents, how are they going to respond? I bet they're going to say, I am so proud of you. This is amazing. How does that feel? So now what do you have to do today? And I won't say for every child, but for most children, they get that feeling, and you can get them to remember what that report card's going to look like at the end with each one of their schedules. So you do the schedule the night before. They have it in front of them, just like Austin said. And then that night, you sit down with them at a quiet time and you go over it and say, how do you feel about your success today? Are you going to get those things on your report card based on what you did today? That's a reward that you cannot buy. That's a reward. And it's teaching a skill for them for the future. Does that make sense? Okay.
Yes, I love this. I'm gonna do that with Eli. We had a smaller version of that just last night. We've had some issues with watching ESPN videos during class because he's learned how to split his screen.
Well, he's got the technology.
I'm like, I'm so impressed you know how to do that because I do not know how to do that.
I taught that last
And
year.
you taught him too well. We were discussing it and I said, Eli, your first report card is gonna, is gonna be in November. We have a parent teacher conference in November and, this year is a little bit different because you're gonna get grades and I don't want you to feel sad about the grades you got when it's all things that you have control over, a lot of his mistakes are going too fast. But he, are not putting full, he got a 54% on a worksheet because he didn't put the time in, not because he doesn't know the answers. Anyway, and he was like, November? I'm going to get a report card in November. And I said, yeah, babe, your first, it's in November. He's like, wow, I gotta kick it into gear.
So you did the right thing. That was wonderful.
Right.
So about if at the end of the day, we evaluate it and say, is this going to be the response that will help you get what you want in November?
Right.
So that's actually a better time zone. I thought, because they're on quarters, are they on quarters in fourth grade?
Yeah, so I think the way it works is they get like a progress report.
Right. Well, that's
so,
in third grade. Okay.
Right, like the progress report in November, and then the first set of grades come out in December or January or something, and then the same, they have a progress report again. What?
Only one question, one on my math assignment.
So what Mimi did was great because it helped him recognize that there's an end result. And sometimes that is more valuable and more powerful than Hall of Fame. Right. So I'm thinking that this is a learning period for them and a learning period for you. So you have some things that you can work on right now.
Mm-hmm.
And when do you want to meet again?
So I have a quick question because the question that I was wanting to ask actually flows really nicely into what Mimi was saying. And that is with Zoe, one of the things with her, it's making sure that when she's taking a test, she's not rushing through it, but she stops, she double checks her work and double checks it, maybe, triple checks it and then turns it in. And I've noticed a big jump in her test taking skills and progress in the beginning of this school year. And I think it's because she's not in class feeling the, vibing off of the energy in the classroom and people rushing through the test. So that's been exciting. But today they had a math test, and she came after she submitted it, and she came in and she said, well, this one answer, I flipped it around. And I said, oh, okay. I said, well, did you double check your work before you submitted it? And she said, no, I felt really confident. I was like, like, but you have to double check your work. So how do I do that in a way where I don't want it to be me constantly? I mean, I wrote a Post-it that's on her desk that says, double check your work,
I'm gonna answer that. That was a great question. Thank you for asking it. First of all, consequences are a wonderful motivation for deciding you're going to check your work.
Yeah.
So the way that you can address this as a parent is when you review the work. See, I always wanted parents to get a Friday folder where they could see all the work, because none of my work ever went home unless it was corrected for a child to see the kind of mistake they made, why they made it, especially in my math class. Because if they made it because they didn't add properly or they didn't regroup, then they would write, I didn't regroup properly, which is going to alert their brain to next time remembering to regroup properly. So using that test to discuss these things with her, instead of hovering over her and leaving her notes, say, oh, I noticed you missed this one. How come you missed it? It's good. It's okay that you made mistakes, but you need to learn from your mistakes. So the test, if you get a 99%, I always want you to look at the 1% that you missed, because that's when you're learning from your mistakes. This is the rest I don't care about. I don't care about the 99%, because that doesn't mean anything to me. That means you already knew that stuff. But I do care about the 1%, because you don't want to go on unless you really truly understand what you missed. So there are two things that could happen. One, the teacher could have misgraded your paper. So if you don't look at your work and know why you missed it, and maybe you had a right answer and the teacher marked it wrong because the teacher's guide is wrong, because that happens all the time. So you need to look at your work, no matter what it is. Every assignment, you need to go over it, and you need to look at, oh, I missed that because I didn't put an L where it's supposed to be. That then ingrains your brain to remember to put it in the right place. So I have them write in green pen, the learning pen. I need to remember the L in the world, in the end of the word little or something like that. And what the children might find when they go through their work with you, say, well, I think this is right. And then you would be encouraged to say, well, then you might want to bring it to the attention to the teacher that you think it's right, and this was your thinking. Can you show me where I went wrong? And then they might find out that the answer was really right. And then you get credit. So you're advocating for yourself. And you moms are going to be teaching that to your children. So learning those kind of things are really important. So let consequences, natural consequences, but then don't let them go away. If the natural consequences she could have done, I would rather not focus so much on 100%, because that creates such intense anxiety. And I'm glad to hear that she's relaxing a little bit, because one of the biggest things that where I see that kids who have to have perfect scores all the time, they don't make it through college. Some of them start getting D's and F's in their sophomore year of high school. And I've worked with a lot of those kids who just think they cannot do this any longer. They get into the AP courses and they've had this intensity about focusing on all these. I think it's better to look at the mistakes as opportunities to learn, not as a penalty.
Yeah, and I think that's great, because what we've always reinforced is that we don't care about the grade. All we care about is the effort. And so that's where I've put in this double checking is a part of the effort, and that's all that we care about. But I don't know if that's like takes it, it makes it so relaxed. But
don't second guess yourselves, you guys. You make mistakes. We all do as parents. But it's you're not going to do harm because you care about your children. So you can just relax. I think you're all doing great. You're here. Okay. No, what I would say is if you shift your thinking just a little bit and focus more on wow, this is a great opportunity to learn from something you didn't know. Well, I knew that, Mom, but I just marked the wrong thing. Well, why did you think you marked the wrong thing? And get her to recognize that she's not really showing the teacher what she knows because she was being careless. So instead of telling her, you better double check everything, get her, solicit that from her. Yeah, I see that you missed number 5. Do you know why you missed it? Because it's important to know and learn from your mistakes. Okay, you learned from number 5, but you already knew the information. You just made a mistake in marking the wrong thing. What do you think you can do about that next time? Why do you think you made that mistake? Never give them an answer. I was trained, Mimi might have had the same experience, but I was raised by people who never answered a question without asking a question. So I'd say, Uncle Saul, what's new? And he said, so what's new? Or I would say to my dad, why do I have to do the dishes? Well, why do you think you have to do the dishes? I mean, come on, you can't argue with that. So in every situation, somebody says, how do you get so far with these kids? Because I never answer their questions directly. I put it back on them because you know that every child innately has every single answer they need if they just ask it and then wait for an answer. The problem is they'll ask us a question and we feel like we have to give them an immediate answer. And that's not how our brains work. Our brains, our hippocampus is seeking answers that we ask it. And I'm finding it more and more that my answers come at 4 o'clock in the morning upon waking. Yeah, sometimes they wake me up at 3 o'clock in the morning and I go, well, I'm glad for that answer, but do you think you could have timed it a little differently? I mean, I really don't want to be up at 3 o'clock in the morning, but that they need to get tapped into that as well. So does that make sense?
Yeah, and I think I'm just, right now I'm playing in my mind how when she comes and runs out and says, oh, I did my test and and she was happy, she was in a positive place about it. I guess I could say, well, how did you feel about it? And were there learning opportunities in it? So maybe it's asking those questions.
Yes, absolutely. That was a great way of phrasing it. You're giving me words I can use. Thank you. I do want you to report back about what you said and how you did it, because you're my guinea pigs. My first book, okay, my third book. I don't know if you guys know this, but this one came from parents asking me questions and I answered them. I kept answering them and they said, you have to put it in a book. So this is the second edition of this one. Then people said to me, can you do a parent seminars? Oh yeah. Do you do teacher seminars? Of course. I'd never done them, but so then I ended up with a teacher's manual because the teachers were asking me questions. And then one year I decided, you know what? All these parents, they don't know the words to give to their children. So I ended up writing this book. I started in 1994 because I was using the examples from my own children. And it is a book of 41 of the most common problems that kids have with school and the words that parents can say to their children to teach their children to say to the teachers so they become empowered. So what you're going to be doing right now is helping me. You're going to be my guinea pig. So I had Danny Diamond, who's like, she must be in her 30s, I'm sure. And she said, oh, so we're kind of like your guinea pigs, because every time they come up with a new question, you would think after 28 years in teaching that I would have heard all the questions. There was one worksheet I've used every year since 1972. And every year I would get different questions I'd never heard before. And I would say to Karen Hainman, have you ever heard that question before? And she said, no. So she started writing them all down. And then we ended up with this book. So along with some of the things my own kids did. So what I want to do next is say, okay, I'm a parent. How do I do this? So your feedback, if you want to type it out to me, I'll give you full credit. We'll co-author this book. How do you like that? Then you can become the trainers for other parents. That would be really awesome. I'm so excited. I'm sorry, I have to contain my enthusiasm. I'm sorry.
No, we love it. Which,
Great.
I have a question. Are like for the ones in Fantra's class, are we getting work back? That's my other concern is I don't think we're getting their work back.
We don't get them. So I went back and looked, and we get it just the score in the comment.
Well,
So for example, I know, and so for example, the tests. So this is what's interesting is that Zoe will take the test, she submits it, and then she'll give it to me, and we go over it. And I'll take a red pen. I should take a green pen. That's a great idea. And we go through and see where where the errors were, and we do it. So right now it's been about a week delay that then we get the score back from the teacher, and it's in the comments section of where they submitted it.
do you get to see the mistakes that were made?
I don't know if we'll eventually get it in some type of like pickup of materials, but right now we're not getting that.
That might be something that you can ask for, that like a Friday folder type of thing. That is
Yeah.
possible we're trying to institute a similar situation. We want to be able to go over, we're getting training on how we can support the children at home. And we don't see the mistakes they're making, but we can have them tell us why they make mistakes. Because the mistakes aren't of value unless they know what to do.
I agree.
So
I agree.
I think-
Layla, for Mrs. Fancher's class, actually, I was having an issue with Aria. Well, not an issue, but it was, she was handing in one of her grammar activities in the workbook, and I went in and I looked at it, and I noticed that she hadn't really understood the concept of what they were asking. And so she was answering the questions, and it wasn't right. And so I spoke to Mrs. Fancher actually, and I talked to Dr. C as well, because I said, it concerns me, because if she doesn't get that concept and the next day they go on to the next thing, especially with writing, that will be confusing. Like then she won't understand the flow and then she'll lose track. So I said, is it allowed for me to kind of be like a teacher where, because in class, if she was doing it, Mrs. Fancher would walk by and she'd see it and she'd go, oh, I think you should reread that question, as an example, right? But no one's doing that to the kids right now because they're in the room and we're staying out. So I said, is it okay if I used open-ended questions like that, or got her to think about, that question again, to get her to trigger in her head whether or not she needs to look at it again? And then if we really couldn't do it, if I was allowed to somehow help her through that. And she said it was okay. So just so you know that she said it was okay. But I also want Aria to, and so my concern with Mrs. O, as far as what you can tell me, is what my concern is, I also want Aria to recognize when she's like, because she wouldn't have known she was making a mistake. She was totally happy thinking she knew what she was doing, right?
Well,
But
I'm going to ask you to do this thing. I'm going to have to think on that one, because we're not teaching Aria how to advocate for herself. And she needs to ask to see her work after it's finished, because I would grade everything and send it back. And the kids could say, they needed to make their corrections. So I would have Aria advocate for herself and improve yourself.
yeah, and so yesterday I've been trying to teach her.
This is the way you can do it. Okay?
Sorry.
Okay, I just want to make sure you hear it, because I know.
Yeah, baby, 1 second.
I would say that if the children are not getting their work back, that they need to advocate for themselves.
Mm-hmm.
To say, could you send me back my work that I did today so I see the mistakes I made? So this is what I want you to teach them to say. I know I don't want my mom helping me. I want to make sure I'm doing it right. So even if your child is the only one getting their work back, that's all that matters. Okay? Because you can't constantly be hovering. You can't she's not going to learn how to advocate for herself. So anyone in a class, I don't care who the teacher is, if the teacher does not get the work back in a timely fashion, then the child should ask for it back, because I want to see what grade I got. And they're going to need to know that, because when they go to 4th grade, Mimi can tell you, that these assignments that are being done are going to be a part of a grade. So if they're not learning from their mistakes now, and you can say, these are the words that I'm going to say now because they're going to come to me, that I want to get a good report card, and I want to make sure that I do the work right. I'm going to turn it in. Would you please correct it and get it back to me so that I can find out where I made my mistakes? Plus, Aria needs to look at the assignment herself. She needs to look at every single part of it and see if she can do it independently. And if she can't, before she begins, she could do one assignment, one sentence on it, and she could send it to Mrs. Fancher in each section. If it's the grammar book, there are maybe A, B, C, D, E. She could do one sample from each section, scan it, send it to Mrs. Fancher, and ask her if she's doing it correctly before she gets any further. That, to me, I think is a brilliant idea that came from somewhere. So I hope somebody, at least we're recording this, because that will make sure she's doing it right and give her immediate feedback, so then she can complete it without being fearful of getting everything wrong. And then if she doesn't get it right, then it will prompt Mrs. Fancher to respond with information that will explain it in a way that will make sense to her. And that's where self-advocacy is going to carry her all the way through college.
And so that's awesome, because that's my biggest concern too. Like, I need her to be able to recognize and speak up and not be afraid to ask questions. And because that's something we worked on with her big time, because she gets nervous in front of her classmates. So I want her to do that. We worked on it a bit yesterday too, even though she said to do that, I still push for what you're saying. Okay. And so with math, for example, yesterday she was like confused. And so I said, put your hand up and ask to be pulled to a breakout room and tell her that, you're going too fast. I need you to re-explain. So she did that. And so, so she's starting to use the chat as an option. And I know today
she just empowered her. Very
right.
You just
and this morning she spoke with Miss Fancher, and she's saying last year in Miss Patrician's class, they had access to a too fast, too slow button. Oh. And they don't have that option this year. Now, Austin told me that apparently the school isn't paying for Zoom anymore. So I don't know why. And so those options and those buttons don't exist this year because of the fact that each class isn't getting, because they said it would be very expensive, I guess. I don't know.
No, I'll be honest with you, Anna, having experienced Zoom myself, for the kids, it was too easy for someone to get into a Zoom, to hack into a Zoom. And they had to stop that. It did happen in the middle school once. And I just wanted to protect the kids. They put all kinds of securities on there, but then it didn't make a difference.
Okay. Well, now they have a signal, so she can let her know when she's going too fast for her. So she's gonna.
This is the kind of thing that we can share with other people. Hey, what you need to ask for. So you empowered her, and you should be able to step out. But
I do. I'm out all the time because I don't.
Every teacher is different, and some teachers will assign something, explain it in their way, and it still doesn't make sense to the kids. So if the kids online would take the initiative to do one problem in each section first and make sure they're doing it right. I used to train my own daughters. Do not leave that classroom. Do not leave that math classroom until you do a sample problem for your teacher and make sure you know how to do it. So they would do one of the sample problems and say, Mr. Christensen, one of the most difficult teachers you could ever imagine, would you just check this and make sure I'm doing it right? Because I don't want to practice it wrong. So when they advocate for that, then they go off to college and they go to office hours and they can say, after the first session, this is what I heard. Am I hearing you correctly? My daughters, both of them, single-handedly changed the way so many professors taught. There was one professor from USC that caught me at graduation, and he said, your daughter has changed the way I'm teaching. For 25 years, I taught the same thing and I got responses and I thought I was doing a great job until Shelley came in and asked me if she was on track with what I was teaching. And she was so off base. And I went back to class the next week. It took me 2 hours to get through to her and see how she thought. And I never realized that there were kids struggling. Well, he went back to class. There was only 104 that could get into that class. It was, she wanted to be a DPT, you know, a doctor of physical therapy, and there were only like 4 programs in the nation for that. And so there were only 104. So they had to be top-notch students to get in there. And it is through her self-advocacy that got her through college that made that possible. So what she did was she went to the first session. She said, this is what I heard. It took 2 hours. He went to the next session and said, I had the most interesting experience. I had a student who visited my office hours, which, by the way, are the most unused time of my day and the most valuable to you, and found out that I wasn't clear to this student. So how many of you left here unsure about what I was talking about on Monday? 3/4 of the, he goes, I'm not going to penalize you. 3/4 of the class raised their hand. And he said, what did you do? Some of them paid for tutoring. Some of them got peer coached from a peer who thought they understood it, but they really didn't understand it. So I said, I used to say to Shelley, you want to go get the information from the person who's going to grade you. You don't want to get it from me because I may tell you something wrong. So you go to the person who's going to give you the grade. And he retaught that concept, and he said he could see the light bulbs going on, that people were finally getting recognition. Even the people got tutored, it wasn't the right information. So this is what we're training these children for now. By having them do 1 or 2 problems from each section, sending it in, saying, am I on the right track before I do this whole assignment? Then the teacher will see if they've been clear. Okay? Thank you for your question.
I love that. That's great because that's huge. I worry about not just my daughter, but every child that, you know, has, you know, tends to be, you know, fall behind, but don't speak up and they're just sitting there going.
I'm going to stop you right there. There's no such thing as falling behind.
Oh, I know. I didn't mean that word. Sorry. I didn't mean it that way. I
Sorry.
just mean that they feel lost.
Okay. No, they're right where they're supposed to be, and they're going to learn
Yeah.
skills that are going to power them.
Yeah.
So much.
And that,
Hi,
and I
can
do
I-
agree with you that the teacher needs to do it because that's my concern. If I do it, I'm using.
Okay,
Okay,
can I ask if there's
Yes.
anybody else that has a question? Because Anna, if you and I need to have a separate session, we can. Go ahead.
I have a question. Sorry, I'm driving, so I can't see anybody. I hope you can hear me.
I can hear you.
Okay. So Kai, you know, he advocates for himself a little bit too much sometimes because he's like trying to yell at the teacher. So that part I'm not really concerned about. What I'm concerned about is, like, let's say his chit chat. So the chit chat, he writes, and he wrote this whole long thing, which, you know, when he turned it in, I don't know what his teacher said, because he knows how to start a sentence. He knows that there's periods. He knows that but he's like, yeah, she doesn't care. She doesn't care. Okay. Well, moving forward, they had to do the in-person, how you stand up and you say your chit chat by memorization. And so he did it. And I know that his teacher has the paper, his chit chat with her. And as he's doing it, he finished and he came up to me and he was like, oh my gosh, you know what? I just changed some of it because I didn't remember what I wrote exactly 100%. And she said it was great.
Okay, I'll
And
tell
he
you
was-
why. I'll tell you why. What you're looking for is totally different than what the chit chats are designed to be. The chit chats are designed to, the writing is merely a brainstorming of what you're going to write, okay? Or what you want to get across. But the real goal of a chit chat is to be able to stand up and extemporaneously present with flow that nobody knows that you made a mistake. And so he kind of knew where he was going, but if he did it without being exactly like it's written, then it means that he has learned a skill that we already wanted to learn. So that
Okay, because I wasn't sure about that. I thought he had to get it. And I think he thinks also that he needs to get it correct. And he was so happy that like nobody cared that he didn't do it correctly. And I'm like, I think you have to. I don't know.
No. And I spread the word that one of the things we had to get kids off of is reading a report. The chit chat is not designed for that. The chit chat is to say, I'm going to get up and I'm going to share on this topic. I've already pre-thought it. I don't have to do it in order because if I forget one line, I'm just going to move on because I don't want anybody to know what I wrote that I forgot, because the kids will go, oh, I want to start over. I forgot a line. I said, well, that's not what the purpose is. The purpose is don't let us know. Take a breath, keep going. It will come to you. You have to be in the relaxed state. And then other things will come to you that you didn't even think of because your brain is always working. Your brain is always coming up to answers to that same question that was asked. Was it, what is your favorite thing? Or what, I don't know, what was the topic? It's usually something that's your favorite. Is that what the topic, the first one was?
Yeah, I think, yes, it was. And I think you're explaining it differently than his teacher did, because
Okay.
I think if she would have explained it the way that you did, he would have felt as though like, wow, I did a really good job. But the way he said it to me was like, wow, nobody saw that, I got it wrong. And I know I was supposed to do it. And it was just,
Yeah, maybe you can help him understand that. And obviously he felt okay that the teacher thought it was great, but she hasn't
Yeah.
that we don't expect it all in order. And she may have said that, but you know, they're so accustomed to reading their note cards because of their heritage report and all that kind of stuff, that this is different. This is totally different. This is extemporaneous speaking. It's good. We're teaching good public speaking strategies. So before
okay, I got that.
yeah, before I go to do a presentation in front of, 500 people, I better know what I'm going to say. Now, if I don't say it in the order, it doesn't matter as long as I convey the message.
Okay, then I'll explain that to him. And definitely, I love all of the scheduling. I was listening to the whole thing, and I'm so appreciative and grateful for you having this conversation with us. Thank you.
Oh, I'm happy that I could be of help to you and relieve your guys' tension and let you enjoy this process instead of feeling so pressured. Okay.
I have a quick question about scheduling. So Nabil just informed me that he put everything on his agenda on Tuesday. They didn't have school Monday. So on Tuesday, he was on top of it. And then he didn't do anything the rest of the week. And so I just asked him, I said, well, so how did that work out for you? Let's talk about your homework last night. How did that work out for you? And he's like, not good. So I said, so what do you think you should do? And he said, write it down. I said, great. So, but I'm just thinking going forward, would it be helpful just until he gets into that routine to every night say, hey, can I see your agenda or no? Do I?
Well, Nabil is kind of interesting. He does learn from his mistakes. So
Yeah.
I think if you sit down and you go over the scheduling with him on Sunday for how he's going to use his Monday, and have him even make sure you write in your agenda, those kind of things, that he'll get in the habit of it. His natural brain style is to not want to commit to anything on paper. He kind of likes this free flow stuff. But it's going to teach him a strategy. My youngest daughter was the same way, and you should see her agenda. It's color coded. Red is for one thing, yellow is for another, and she's been using that her whole life. So he's going to have to come up with a strategy that's going to work for him. This is what this year is about. This year isn't about getting it perfect the first week of school or the second. Some children don't get this system down until February, but trust me, some of them will still get it. There's other things involved here that parents have to understand. Every child in that classroom is at a different cognitive developmental state. So what works for a 9-year-old coming into 3rd grade who turned 9 during the summer, or turned 9, I'm sorry, a 3rd grader who turned 8 in June, the summer before school started, and the child who won't be 8 until November is cognitive development. And the cognitive development for a 3rd grader is the greatest growth time in the brain. That's where that brain is growing so fast to take on things it couldn't have taken on at a younger age. It's reason, empathy, things are building there that weren't there before. So I had a talk with another third grade teacher in the pool yesterday where she's still teaching. And I said, well, once a third grader teacher becomes a third grade teacher, they rarely leave, because I had taught everything from kindergarten to 8th grade except for 3rd grade. And when I landed there, I said, oh my gosh, I'm going to look great as a teacher. So Mimi, I don't know if you remember at back to school night how I said you are going to see an amazing growth, and maybe Anna remembers this, but I can't accept responsibility for all of it. Some of it, yes, but not all of it, because this is a huge growth spurt, bigger than any other grade I've ever taught. So it's a great opportunity to teach these skills now. And maybe they won't get it the first time, but if you keep doing this coaching, you know, and make it a pleasurable thing. Well, look at how much better you did today than you did last week. And why do you think you were successful on Tuesday? Could it have been that on Monday you and Miss O talked about this schedule and you had decided where to put things? So you had that in your head, but you didn't do it on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Think about what you want to do now and let him suggest. You know, you could actually say you might even consider doing a daily schedule for a while until you get this to set up. So turn it back up to, what do you think you should do? Nabila's pretty bright. I'm sorry I'm not in the class with him, to be honest with you.
I am too. I'm so
No, but I feel this is even more an advantage because I can coach him from here in a way that I wouldn't be able to do.
Absolutely no, which is why I think and I think, you know, these ladies know, because the last few weeks I've been on so many calls, like, I don't know, like just stressed. But this is the first week I didn't call anyone because I was relaxed because you got to sit down with him and coach him. And so I just honestly, I mean, we all feel so grateful that you're able to do this with our children and with us, and we can't thank you enough. And I agree. I really feel like, you know, this opportunity I think will be so beneficial for our children, and really, we're so grateful. So thank you so much.
I love that you have this now in middle school. You're going to love it because you're not going to have the other problems that the other parents are going to have. So you can yeah, this is a struggle. We're all learning through this together. And I am so incredibly grateful to you women. I want to cry because giving up my career was really difficult. But when I can do this, I'm sorry. I'm trying to control the emotions.
We love you, Miss O. We
When
love
I'm
you.
able to do this, you give my life meaning, make me want to get up in the morning. And I'm so grateful for that. You don't know. I think I attracted you into my life. I do. And I'm so grateful you took Mimi's advice. You need to tell me how to say your name. I've avoided saying it.
Noor.
Noor. Okay. I've avoided saying it because I want to say Noor.
No, yes, Noor. Well, yeah, Mimi was the one where I kept talking to her, and she was like, no, you're not getting it. You need to call Miss O. So I'm so grateful. Honestly, I just really, we can't thank you enough. And
okay.
when
are we meeting again?
Every week I'm ready. You guys tell me when.
Like to have a standing Friday meet. Is this an okay time for you guys?
Yeah, this works for me.
I'm going to put it
Yeah.
I'll put it on my calendar today.
I do have a question. If we would like our children to talk with you separately, like doing a coaching session or something, should we just directly connect, or are we trying to do something together with the kids, or
I mean, if there's a common challenge that you're all seeing and you want me to do a brain session with them. I actually came up with an idea. I need puppets. I need an amygdala. I need a hippocampus. I need a reticular activation system. So I'm going to get to work on that. I'm going to go to the store and get some fabric today and see if I can do that. Because I think if I do it like a puppet thing, they'll appreciate it. Or I can use different puppets to represent. Because the amygdala is about the size of a piece of rice. And we have 2 of them right here inside our deeply ingrained in our, but they cause so much trouble. because they are directly related to the stress response. And each one of us responds to stress differently. Some people retreat, some people get angry and volatile. So but everybody who has a stress response to anything is not going to be able to think clearly. So they need to understand that even though that little grain of rice is so little, it is so powerful in our brain that we have to learn. I don't know if are any of you familiar with tapping?
Yes,
All
I
right.
am.
What is it that you're familiar with?
Well, I know that there are different spots that you can tap on your body. Like I would do my wrist for stress. I would do my face in different places all over for different things. I mean, I've researched it. So the EFT tapping is something that I love to do.
Well, I've been researching it myself. Is that Charlene who said that?
Yes.
Oh, okay, great. Because I think that needs to be a part of children's education.
I agree.
I think that tapping is wonderful for the stress response. And I've seen kids in OT using it to help them with the stress response. So if parents are not objectionable, I can use some of them to show them what they can do when they're feeling that stress just before a test. Because I used to just have them do deep breathing, and that doesn't work. I mean, that's effective to a certain degree, but tapping is far more effective than.
I agree with you because tapping is more focused. I mean, it's not more focused. The children can focus better at when they're using when they're using their hands or using a different part of their body, but then at the same time you're teaching them different places to tap for different things.
Yeah. So I really do believe that needs to be a part of the curriculum in schools. Mindfulness is fine, but they teach in mindfulness to stop your brain from thinking. And to be honest with you, asking your brain to stop thinking is like asking your heart to stop pumping. So it's learning how to focus and visualize a different future for themselves with a different kind of meditation or visualization. And we did the mindfulness training, and there's a lot of wonderful things in that program, but there's some aspects that we probably could add to it. So I'd love to do that with the kids. So if you guys want me to, you just let me know and I will do a whole brain session with them. And
I love that. I love that.
You know, when you understand how dendrites are formed and you understand how they prune and you understand what happens when you're under stress, because it's your brain, it's not your intellect or anything. JMO found that really interesting, that he felt stupid because he couldn't give an answer right away. And I said, well, no, it has nothing to do with intelligence. It has to do with your body's natural stress response. And you just have to learn how to stop it. But he had been taught tapping. So he knows how to do this all the way through. He knows how to tap his forehead, tap his temples, tap here, tap here, tap here, tap here, tap here, tap on the sides, tap on the legs, tap here, and tap here. That when he's really inflamed, that brings him down. He may have to do that routine a couple of times, or just put his hands on his head. And that will stop the stress response. So there's a lot of things kids can do to help with their stress response that will improve their performance.
I would love a stress class, Miss O. That sounds great.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
You guys just let me know. Give me some dates that are working for the kids, and I would love to do that. So, and Anna, I would love to have a separate session with Austin if you'd let me use him as an example that I can put in.
I'll think about it. I'm not sure.
Okay.
I'm kidding. You know.
You never said no to me before. I was going, okay, whatever. Oh, gosh. I don't know if any of you saw my Facebook post that Elliot Martell did. It was precious. If you go on to my Victoria Olive Doty, look me up and look for my videos. He did one on how he felt about Zoom and some of the things I taught him. And I've had a couple of other students who have done testimonials for me that have been pretty cool. So, but he expressed it, and he was one of the shyest, quietest boys. And he just did this great video that was just priceless, that has helped other people. I mean, I've gotten a lot of good feedback that, you know, that's a better way of looking at things than the way they were looking at them. I think everybody looked at this and go, oh, my kids are going to be horrible. And they're going, wait, calm down, guys. Everything that's presenting, I mean, just think about all the wonderful things that have happened since the pandemic. I don't like the idea that people are so fearful about getting the do you know I had it when I had Eli? I had the COVID in February.
How did you take a,
Yeah,
did you take an antibody or a test, or how did you know?
I had it. Oh, well, you talk about the symptoms. I had them. Now you're looking at a person with a rock hard immune system. So my reaction was a fever for a few days. And ironically, I was taking care of my 96-year-old mother for a whole week during intercession. So the worst part of mine was during the intercession. It was a fever, a headache, achiness. It was a pretty significant headache. And then, you know, maybe some achy muscles, but not too bad. And that was like started on Sunday. And then by Thursday, I just had a cold and a pretty scary cough, where the kids, if Eli remembered, I would cough and nothing comes up, but I couldn't get air. I was feeling like that. And it wasn't until April that I was able to get a real good deep breath. And I was worried, be honest with you, I was a product of the 60s where everybody was, the 50s and 60s where everybody smoked. And we learned when I was in college that it was bad for you. So I stopped, but I thought, I'm going up my stairs and I'm going, I can't breathe. And I thought, oh, you're 70, almost 70, and you're, no, I was 70 already, and you can't catch a breath. It must be emphysema. I thought I had destroyed my body. And then on about April was the first time I could really get a good deep breath. But it never stopped me from doing anything. And I have friends right now, a couple of them that have it, and they've got the same symptoms, and they were positive as well. But I don't have the antibody anymore. But I'm not worried about it if I get it again. Because remember, I lived through SARS, H1N1, polio, tuberculosis, all kinds of, you know, infectious diseases. And I just don't like the fear of it. I mean, you get it, you get it. But what has happened is it's slowed everybody down. And it's made us look at being more mindful about how we spend our time and spending more quality time with our family. And what I'm hoping is this will teach children how the reason I want hard deadlines is when they're working from home as an adult, I want them to have a hard deadline that when they're done, then they have family time, that they can't have an home office. That's why I'm hoping the home offices are detached, that they go to work at 5 o'clock. I loved it, 9 to 5. No stores were open on Sundays when I was a kid. That was family time. And there, you know, my family observed Shabbat on Saturdays. So we didn't, you know, we had visitors, family visitors or whatever. But those were sacred times for families. And we've lost all that with people working through the weekends and that kind of thing. So maybe this will be a time teaching them a hard deadline now. And the rest is recreation, however you want to spend it. And then back to your job later. Once you're done, you're done. And hopefully this will train them. And so that I'm grateful for. Okay. Anything else? I think you have a lot to think about. So
Thank you, Miss O, so much. Thank you.
You're welcome. I'll see you next Friday.
Thank you.
On the same place.
That sounds
I strongly suspect that you're going to have a lot of ways that you've solved challenges in a different way and have fewer problems.
I hope so.
Thank
Thank you.
Eli, we have to get together because I've got, maybe when I see Nabil next time, I'll
You're unmuted.
what I have for you.
I know that I'm muted. I saw you unmute me.
Okay. Okay.
Bye.
Okay, after recess.
So Mimi,
I'm on my recess.
huh?
I'm on my recess.
Oh, okay, good.
Bye.
Bye, sweetie. Mimi, we'll have to coordinate too, so I can drop off,
Yes.
or I can leave it with, you know,
I live like right down the street from Nora.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay, ladies, thank you so much again.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You.
Have a great weekend.
We will. You
you.
too.
Thank you, Miss O.
Thank you.
Look out for your email, Miss O, about meeting if you want to do that.
You what?
If you wanted to meet, I'll wait. I'll look out for your email.
Oh, okay, okay. Well, Anna, why don't you email me because I don't know anybody's email.
Oh, okay,
I'm
perfect.
the homework doc. DOC.
Okay, well, hold on. I gotta write. Don't have a
Email.
pen. I'll ask Nora. Nora, do you have it?
Okay, yeah, because and then I'll send out. If you guys all email me, I'll send you the link to the Zoom then. Okay.
Okay, perfect.
Okay. All right, ladies.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a great day. Bye. You too.
Bye.
Bye.